Hey, what's up guys? Coach Jesse Minchin with GetHandles.com. Today I'm going to show you how to play lockdown defense. All right, very first thing we got to talk about is your stance. First of all, you want to get that butt down, get your legs apart. I'm going to give you some different ways as far as how much you want to space your legs. I found the offensive player's abilities will kind of dictate to some degree how I position my legs. Stay on the balls of your feet. You can maybe have sometimes I'll have my heels touch the ground, but I'll still have more of my weight distributed on the balls of my feet so I'm ready to move more quickly. Now, a couple things I've noticed, there's some players where if I know they're good at driving left and right, but if they're like shorter than me and don't have, can't cover as much ground side to side with their arms, I'll try to get my legs really wide, almost kind of try to cut off both gaps. Now, it's going to be a little bit harder to move quickly side to side when you're in a really wide stance, but it's also easier to kind of cut off that angle. So if Zach is here, I'm going to get in a really wide stance, so if he comes this way, I can still just slide with him, right? Defensive shuffle, one foot in, other foot pops out. But for other players, if I know they're like really quick, I'm gonna probably bring my stance in just a little bit so I can push off a little more and recover. Kind of two different ways to go about it. Everyone has their own defensive style. I prefer playing more of the super wide stance. For you, you might find a little bit narrower stance works. Go with what works for you. The other thing that you might wanna play around with, and I'm gonna go over more details about like weak hand, strong hand with this, but you might wanna play around with more playing them squared up or having a slight staggered stance, okay? I'd say 90% of the time, I'm gonna give you some exceptions to this that some coaches won't teach you because I like to give you guys some different stuff. 90% of the time, you wanna make sure as a defender that you're following the offensive player's hips and his chest. If he moves the ball way out here and I start following the ball and he's not even moving his hips and his chest, so just move the ball real quick, Zach, out the side. If I follow that, boom, I get crossed real quick, right? He's got an easy angle to get past me, right? If I'm following that ball way too much. What I wanna do is I wanna keep my eyes locked in on his hips or his chest. I'd say the hips, personally, I prefer because the chest you can sway a little bit more and get faked out a little. So his hips are gonna be a lot harder to move quickly. So if he moves, I'm gonna follow his hips. Real quick, if you're finding these tips helpful, make sure you hit that like button for me. Okay, second thing we gotta talk about is spacing. You have to kind of know the offensive player. So if Zach's like a really good shooter, but he's not a good ball handler, I'm gonna crowd him. I don't want him to get that shot off, and I know he's not good off the dribble, and I know he's not good with his first step. You're terrible off the dribble, Zach. No, he's actually a good ball handler. But if he's a good shooter, I'm gonna play him tight. Because I know if he tries to start moving past me, I can get in front of him and he's not quick enough, right? If he's a better ball handler but a terrible shooter, I'm gonna give him some more cushion, okay? But 9 times out of 10, if he's got a little bit of both or he's nothing really stands out between the two, I'm gonna try to go basically so I can touch belly button with my hand here, okay? That gives me enough space to contest the shot or at least get a hand in his face, and it also gives me enough space so if he tries to drive past me, I can adjust and slide in front of him. Third thing we got to talk about is playing different angles. Now, it depends on the offensive player. This is something where I'm a little different than some players. If I know Zach, you're righty?
Yep.
So Zach's probably going to prefer to drive with his right. If I know he's really good with his right, but he's terrible with his left, a lot of players, what they'll do is they'll try to kind of cut off this angle by coming here. The problem I have with that, though, is if he takes a little side step here, he can get boom. Now he's behind my back. I'm in terrible position to guard him. So me personally, I prefer to do the opposite. I come here, so this way, if he slides here, I can slide right in front of him, and I can keep moving with him. He can't get that direct path to the basket. But if you know he's maybe got a quick first step but not really great with his handle, then you might want to come here, but you got to completely close this side off and know that he's not going to be able to beat you to this side. Couple different ways to go about it. You got to have to know, the offensive player, and that's one of the big keys with defense is kind of knowing how the player is playing and paying attention to what he's doing every time you're playing, or if you can even scout him, when he's warming up, or if you're on the bench, paying attention to how he's approaching other defenders, you can kind of get little cues for how you should approach defending him. Leave me a comment down below. Let me know which one of these tips you think is going to help you the most. One other key tip you want to pay attention to, especially when you're trying to steal the basketball, is if he's dribbling, I don't want to try to steal the ball like this. That's how you get fouls called on you a lot. You can actually get away with fouling guys a fair amount as long as you're coming up and under to steal the basketball. So if he's dribbling, I would come under. Two things that's gonna do. Number one, of course, coming under, it's gonna reduce the chance of getting a foul call. But number two, you can hit the ball more forward. So if he's dribbling, if I hit it overhand, I'm just hitting it right back down. He's got a chance to get to it again. But if I hit it underhand, that puts my palm, like we talked about our dribbling, was whichever direction your palm's facing, the ball's probably gonna travel that way. So if I'm going for a steal, and I push it this way, boom, I'm pushing it that way so I can get that steal, run down the court for easy, fast break. Let's talk a little bit about trying to get some more steals. Two main areas I'm gonna look for steals is if I got a player I know that's crossing over a lot, I'll wait for the ball right down here, right? Because I know when he crosses the ball over, that's my opportunity to just stick my hand in and bat it away, right? Without having to reach too much. The other time, I know some players are masters at this, is when a player's trying to drive past, so if he's trying to come here, a lot of guys will wait for it to kind of get to the side here where they can get into reach of it, and then they'll slap it away. And they'll just kind of like wait till it gets up to that hip level. If he's trying to come past me, boom, I can hit it forward and get that fast break. One thing you want to keep in mind, don't ever overcommit. Again, when we talked before about following the hits in the chest, use your peripheral vision more to look at the ball and keep your eyes focused on his hips or his chest, okay? Because you don't want to go for the ball to the point where you're getting out of position that he can easily beat you. So if he kind of makes a movement with just the ball out here, that I come out here, and now he can easily cross me here, right? So you don't want to over prioritize the basketball unless you know he's not a good ball handler, which we're going to go over that in a second. But 9 times out of 10 for most players, keep your feet and your body in front of where his hips and his chest are. Don't extend your chest over your knee here because now I'm off balance. Or don't move your whole body over here and put yourself out of position. Use your hands to go for the ball without swaying your hips and chest over your knee and without putting your body out of position with where his body is. Stay in front of him at all times. Okay, so let's talk about a couple different things that are kind of weird and different that I noticed some NBA players do that are going to kind of break the traditional ways coaches teach to play defense. The first is having a super staggered stance. I've noticed sometimes Kawhi Leonard will get his body almost completely this way. So if he's dribbling with his left hand, he'll come in here waiting to pick the ball, and then he can go right darting towards the basketball to beat him. It's the weirdest thing, but it's something you might want to play around with. And the second thing that kind of goes with this is if I know Zach's not a good ball handler, I'm going to be willing to play around a little bit more with going with the ball and getting in weird stances and really just chasing down the ball. I've seen a lot of guys that if they know the guy's a bad ball handler on defense, they'll just literally chase down the ball. So if, let's say, I get that pick the first time by chasing it down. So next time maybe he reacts, so I come here, I go for the ball, and he goes behind the back. They'll just keep chasing down the ball, right? The offensive player doesn't have the ball handling to come out of that move and still attack the basket, right? And it's going to take them a while to get the ball located. So if you have an offensive player that's not a very good ball handler, don't be afraid to kind of break the rule of staying in front of them, keeping your cushion, all that stuff. Don't be afraid to kind of just chase down the ball a little bit more if you know they're easy to rip, okay? Final kind of weird tip, and again, play around to see what works for you. But I know right off the bat, I'm gonna say a lot of people are gonna tell me that you should never do this because coaches teach them all the time not to do this, and I'm gonna get a lot of hate. But before I do that, you guys, leave any comments saying this isn't gonna work. Watch some Michael Jordan defensive highlights. Watch a lot of NBA player highlights, even Kawhi Leonard. A lot of times, you have your defensive shuffle, so one foot comes in and the other foot pops out, right? And you don't ever want your feet to cross. Problem is, if you have a more athletic player, these little steps aren't gonna cut it to stay in front of him. So if he beats me to this spot, I'm gonna cross my legs, right? The key tip is to make sure that if this foot's coming across, I pop this second foot out before this foot comes down. Because if I come here and then try to move, that's how you trip up over your own feet. Get this foot across, and before it lands, pop this one out. You should be good to go. It's gonna allow you to cover more ground more quickly, so if he comes here, I can keep sliding in front of him. But if he tries, show us one more time, Zach, a big step, and I'm taking little shuffles, he just got that angle on me, right? You can't always have those little steps. You gotta be willing to kind of break out of that, either stepping across or stepping behind. But if you watch Jordan a lot of his defensive highlights, he would really hound his guy and play him tight, right? So now when he plays him tight, the problem that creates is if he's a good athletic player, he can get past me really easy. So you have to really recover by taking those big steps. So that's kind of an outside the box thing that your coach might not like, or you maybe were taught not to ever do. I'm here to tell you, if you watch a lot of the best players, they do this. So something to keep in mind, play around with all these defensive tips. So you have to kind of know the offensive player, and you have to know your abilities and your style of play and what works well for you. So, play around with these different tips, but the main ones in the beginning are the more traditional fundamental ways of doing things. So maybe stick with those at first, and then try dabbling in with some of these other, unorthodox approaches and bringing them in and see if they work for you or if you can tweak them to make them work for you. Make sure you click that subscribe button and get on that notification squad so you can catch the newest videos that are coming out. I have multiple videos every week, and they're all gonna help you improve big time. So look, if you found this video helpful and you wanna have amazing handles so you don't get the ball ripped from lockdown defense, click this link right here. That's a free workout. Just pop in your email and I'll send that to you instantly for free. It's already helped thousands of players, and I'm sure it's gonna help you too. Also, if you like this video, make sure you check out this video. You probably like that one as well, and check out this playlist. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for more, and make moves today.